Hey everybody, finally back with you to do some chord shapes and solo basics. I tried to zoom in the picture a little bit so as I show you some of the stuff on the fretboard, maybe it'll be a little bit easier to see it. I'm not using my whole rig right now, just got my Ibanez going through my Boss floor pedal. And so I'm going to show you some things about the chord shapes we've talked about, and then also into some soloing basics, like some of you have asked about. So we'll get started here. See if that makes it where you can see that pretty good. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, so when you're talking about the chord pieces, seems kind of weird. When you're talking about the chord pieces, what you have is that the root and the fifth of a chord will work almost every inversion of the chord. So if you find the root and the fifth anywhere on the fretboard, they work. And then because intervals on a guitar are consistent, once you know the shape, you can find it anywhere. The main thing is you have to know the notes of the fretboard. Now you might get to the part where you're like a sight reading musician, you know them automatically. For what we're talking about, to be honest, if you can get to where you can just find the note, is going to be sufficient. So let's get into it a little bit. If I'm trying to play in the key of G, right, and I've shown you this before, but just to remind, and for those of you more technical people, these are just to help people get started. Some people in the comment flow seem to be sort of missing that. These are just helpful hints. There's about 100 ways to figure this stuff out. I don't think this is the only right way. This is just a way that might help. Okay, so take my hand. If G is my thumb, my pinky is going to be that fifth note that I need to find. G, A, B, C, and D. So if I have G and D together, anywhere on the fretboard it'll work as a root, what they call a root 5 chord. So you've heard them in rock a long time. And what is that? It's a G note, right? A, B, C, D. So those two together, G rock chord. You guys know that. So all we're doing is taking that concept and moving it to find other inversions. So if I go to an A string root, right? So I'm going to go looking for my G note on the A string, and it's here. Okay? Then I'm going to find my D note here, so I wind up with this one up here. See if that gets where you see that. If I go to a fourth string root, I find my G note, D, E, F, G. On the next string up, I'm going to go looking for that D note. G, A, B, C, D. So G and D together. Okay? The best way to get a clean sound on that is to only pick the two strings that you're holding the notes for. Now, one thing that can help you with that is to use the rest of your hand to kind of deaden the other strings, so that if your pick does flow over, they're dead. Okay? Third string root. Well, open, it's a G. So if I go looking for a D here, B, C, see? That's a G5. So if you think this open string and this D note will work over a G chord. Okay? If I move that on up, and I would find it here. And then B, C, D. So this is D, G. Okay? Now what you start to notice is that those inversions, those intervals rather, they're the same. So if this is a G chord, because this is the root note, G. And that shape, one note here, one note here. When I move it up to A, it's an A chord. Well, all the shapes work that way because intervals are consistent on a guitar. So if this is G, root note G, if I take this down to F, and I do the same shape, F note, E, open note D. Okay, now these kind of things have always been working in music, just in places where a lot of times people didn't realize. Walking blues is based in these open shapes. So when you start getting into the changes, though, part of the thing that makes it fun is you can go the other way with it, because it doesn't necessarily have to be that the next note is above, right? The next note might be below. So if this is a G note, well, this one above it is a D, which will work. Now, for those of you that kind of think in shapes like I do, if you realize your G rock chord is here, okay, well, that's comprised of G, D, and another G. Well, if I only need the two tones to make the chord, then these two together would also work to be my G5 chord. And if this is D here, the D chord, right? Now this is where you'll start to hear some of this in some song. Sorry, my nose, we have allergies, so my nose is itching. So here's a G chord, right? Because I have a G and I have a D right above it. And then this is a D chord because I have a D, right? D, F, G, A, D and A, D, E, F, G, A. So D and A make a D5 chord. Well, here's G. So if I'm in a song in the key of G that's going to between the G and the D chord, I can just do those pieces. Okay. Now likewise, when you build that fourth string root, right? G, D. Well, if I want to add that other G note and go looking for it, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if I put those together, I wind up with a shape that looks like that. Can you see that pretty good? Let's see. So I've got a G, a D, and another G. Okay. Well, if this is D and this is G, that gives me a G chord that I can use. Well, from here, if this is D, second string root, so I have a D5 and a G5 right there together. And that's what starts making it real handy, because again, if I was having to go between them, so as I'm playing some of those, you're probably seeing that a lot of that goes on in the worship music now. A lot of it is just those little pieces. So if you can Google all of this stuff, get yourself a map of the fretboard notes, and start finding your root fives, and that'll get you started. Now, yes, please, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can learn after that, but it'll get you started. to get you started some on the soloing part, I'm going to teach you a couple of shapes, pentatonic minor and a major scale shape, and those will help you get started. Here again, though, you have to know the, wish I was taller, you have to know the root notes to start on. So I'm going to show this to you based on the 4-number pattern, that this is finger 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I place them over a position on the neck, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, working my way up. So I'm going to give you the numbers, working your way up. A pentatonic minor shape is 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. Since we started on an A note, that makes that shape a pentatonic minor. Now what happens is, then in an A minor song, most of those notes become safe. Okay, and in a major scale song where A minor is the relative minor of that key, we talked about it before. You look at your chord sheet and you see that the minors on that song are an A. See, then that's the hint you're looking for, which will basically be songs in the key of C. So this shape for an A minor would work for songs in the key of C. Now the major scale shape is a little bit more complicated. Starts with a second finger root. So we were doing A minor for C, so we'll start at C. Major scale shape is 1, 4. Next string, 1, 2, 4. Next string, 1, 3, 4. Next string, 1, 3, 4. Next string, 2, 4. Last string, 1, 2. And it's sitting right next to your relative minor one. If you overlap them, and you can even make a diagram of that, to help yourself. It gives you a pretty wide swath of notes that you can work with. And what you're trying to do is find the notes that are safe in the key so that you're not clashing with the chord arrangements of the instruments around you. So if you learn that major scale shape, for a song that you like listening to, and just start working around inside of it, there's a lot of stuff you can do. I'm sorry, didn't mean to get carried away. So those chord pieces will hopefully help a little bit. Lead shapes will help a little bit. And I'm going to be back next week, have my worship leader here so we can do some soloing basics over an actual chord progression that he's playing, and we'll keep digging into it. So hope this is still helping. Keep rocking for Jesus, all right? Blessings.